What's up, guys? It's Normal Guy with a cold. So today we want to get this 1100 Sabre going again. She's fine. She's good. She just needs her rear brakes to work. So we've already shown you taking apart the calipers, cleaning them up, and rebuilding them. Try to link those videos, but go to the playlist and find that for the 84 1100 Sabre. This is a V65 1984. If you know, you know. So anyway, already said it's just not releasing the whole way. So you think, well, there's a vent hole, right, that lets the air bubbles go back. Well, this is just a reservoir. So that flows down here into our master cylinder, which is in here. I've never taken these apart on a rear brake. Front brake, it's all in here. And we've replaced them, we've rebuilt them, all that good stuff. But we don't need to do that because that clog must be in here somewhere. So what we're going to start with, make sure you catch your brake fluid. It can ruin paint. I don't think we're going to be dripping on anything major down there. So anyway, we're going to take this off, lose a lot of brake fluid. I could pull it out, but I'll just put a pan underneath and it'll probably all leak out from here. We're going to let air in the system, but we have to fix this right here. That's fine. Again, we're going to have air in the system. We're going to have to open up the banjo bolt here and remove the line that goes from there. So what happens here is your pedal activates, get out of here, gas can. Your pedal, which is sheared off for some reason. I don't remember, that wasn't me. Anyway, it works just fine. But anyway, your pedal activates your piston and then pushes the brake fluid down through here and makes your caliper work. Up here, this is just supplying your brake fluid. For some reason, it's just separate. And yeah, this is what does all the work here. Creates pressure to your caliper. And then when your caliper isn't being pressed, it has to relieve pressure. Like I said, this is just a hose up to the reservoir. So now we have to take this out. Well, anyway, yeah, undo the banjo bolt, undo this and pull the line off, and we're gonna lose all the brake fluid. And then there's gotta be a mount bolt. I saw one mounting bolt there. There's probably another one. So I gotta figure out how to get them off. I might have to take off the rear. This holds the exhaust, and it's your rear foot pedal peg for your passenger. Again, sorry for the nasally sound, but we have covers on that. I'll have to pop out. So I think those will come out. But first, I'm gonna take that off. Just gonna grab a pliers, squeeze that brace, or you know, whatever, that bracket, pull it up, pop that off, get that out of the way, and then 12, looks like, millimeter bolt for the banjo, and then that comes off. There's two washers in there, don't lose those, one on top, one on bottom. You probably should replace them, but I won't, and it won't leak, and we'll be fine. So, gonna go get a tray to collect the brake fluid. There we go. Got all of my brake fluid. Like I said, that was just a hose down to the master. And then I got a mess. So I'm gonna clean that up. But here is your banjo bolt. Like I said, there goes the lower, I don't even know what that was, some sort of bracket. But there is your washer on the top, crush washer on top, and then what was that? It is just a bracket. Is that my crush washer for the bottom? Or is it still stuck to the brake line? I feel like there should be a crush washer on the bottom. And I don't see it. Is that in place of a crush washer? Very weird. Okay then, well, we can pull that out of the way. It's in a bracket here, but if I really wanted to get out of the way, I could. For now, let's just push it up there, get this out of the way. Feel like we've done enough draining. And like I said, looks like we can get it. Yeah, it's covered by this. So I'll get a little screwdriver, pop these out, pull this off. I'll have to redo or undo this because that's holding my muffler on. And get this out of the way, and I think we can access the two screws right there. 8mm hex for these bolts. Usually if there's covers like that, you'll find that they are hex bolts because they press in there pretty easily on Hondas and keep dirt out of there, basically. But it's nice. You have to be really careful prying those out on an 84. They are brittle, and I was able to save mine. And here we go. Those are out pretty much. And then, like I said, let's go ahead and remove this. This muffler's gonna fall off. We've had issues with her just being loose, but I hate to do it, but it's gonna have to be messed with now. Maybe I can stick something in there to make that better this time. It doesn't really leak, but it does pop a little bit. Well, first I was just gonna take the muffler out. I started wiggling it. And again, maybe I'll try to put something in there to make it better. But I ended up getting it off. Used 14mm bolt. And then down here we have two 10mm. And I believe we can lift our master cylinder right out. We are free now, but we're attached to the pedal, of course. I completely forgot that we would be attached to the pedal. So I could either take that apart also, which I might do, or I'm guessing this screw right here on top, which I would not have had to take out the two 10mm screws. I bet our vent is in there, our vent hole, so maybe I'll just try to take that screw out and see what's in under here. I would like to give this thing a good cleaning now that we're all taken apart. So we gotta figure out how to get down in there and clean up that junky stuff and disconnect this from our pedal. It gets kind of tricky. We have adjustments there and there's a screw on the bottom. Well, anyway, I wonder what's in there. I think we're getting to the right source here. I did take the muffler off eventually, and I'll have to reattach that. I did jam some stuff in there. Maybe I can seal it up. You can see how it didn't actually stay. So anyway, that'll be a thing to deal with then. Yeah, okay. So here is our guy. There's a pin in here that I might have to get out, but I don't know how the pin's gonna come out because it's right against the frame. So I'll have to try to do that, get in there. But in the meantime, I did take the screw out of here. There's a little screw right there. And then I just kind of wiggled this guy out. And this is the return. This is the line up to the reservoir. Of course, that comes out. We have a gasket and then a little bit of dirty brake fluid. So this does need cleaned out. And I bet that's our return hole there. And it's probably dirty, and there's dirty fluid in here. So I seen we could get a rebuild kit for this for like 40 bucks. So that might be the way to go at this point. We're gonna have to get this off to clean it and go from there. So anyway, this is what I'm gonna do, and continue the video. Guys, I have so I've decided to take this off to clean it properly, and holding it onto the arm right here is a dowel held in by a washer and a pin. The pin was hard enough to get out, and then we have the frame in the way, so I had to loosen the pedal to push the actual brake in so I could get the dowel out from this side. So I guess I can at this point. You can barely see it. It's right in here. But if I can do this now, we'll be free. You can kind of do this too. Yeah, I think I got out the one side. I just have to get it past the pedal pivot there. That joint right there, see? I think I have room now, so we got this. We got this. Here we are, off the bike now. This looks a little bent. I might have bent it a little bit while I was trying to take it off. I'll be putting that dowel back in this way, so there's plenty of room to pull it out for the next guy. It was probably installed as a unit, so it didn't, the factory didn't have to worry about taking that pin out with the frame in the way. So I'm gonna clean this up, and I've never rebuilt one of these because usually there's a drum brake on the rear, but with these V65s you have the disc on the back, so we have the master cylinder. So I guess with all the work that I've had to do to take this off, we might as well get the parts to rebuild them. It's only like 40 bucks. So this is plastic, just needs to be cleaned up a little bit. We do have the O-ring here. A little bit of junky brake fluid. That's probably what our problem is. Like I said, there's our return hole, that little guy right there on the left. And then there's our main hole where the fluid runs through. So we could just clean this up and make sure those holes are free with some guitar wire. But like I said, it's off. Why not rebuild it? I guess we'll have to take the piston out and stuff here if we get that far. But at the very least, I'm gonna clean it up and make sure that it's functioning correctly. I usually don't rip apart these if they're not leaking. So I cleaned it up pretty good. And I sprayed some brake cleaner in there and wiped it out and made it a lot prettier. I didn't hit that hole yet, but you can see as we push the piston here. Now I can see. You can see it moving in that hole. See that? So everything's working and moving in there, so that's good. But we need to make sure that return hole right there is open, and then good to go. So I don't know, maybe I just open that hole now that she's cleaned up and put her back together. Well, it definitely seems like we got this cleaned up pretty good, which if you know me and my channel, we're gonna go ahead and put it back in. The vent hole on the left seemed to be clogged. It took me a little while to get the smallest in there, and then it even now when I stick it in there, it does seem to be going in a little vertical, like a little, not straight in, but like a little to the one angle. And I've really just put it through many times and it seems like it's fine. But now that we've cleaned this up, I think we're going to go ahead and put it back on. And if it's not going to leak, this O-ring seems fine, then I'm okay with it. And if it works and we don't have to return to this again, that'll be awesome. But I'm glad I took it off, got a good look at it. If that hole was not venting, the fluid would not be flowing back through the way it should. And then we were not getting full release of the rear brake. So she's looking good. I'm gonna push these closer so that to make sure that it's not gonna be like, I'm gonna go put it in the vise and just push it together and then reinstall it. So this goes back on top. I cleaned this up too. That goes back on top, gets the screw put back in, and then the whole process of bleeding the rear brakes and getting fluid back in this system is fun, especially hidden down there in behind the frame. So I'm gonna put this back together and start working on that. I got the pin back in, and as you can see, if it focuses, I'll put it back in the same way just so, I don't know, just so it's the same. I did end up getting the brake parts. I pushed them in. I took off the foot pedal and I took this opportunity to put some grease on this pivot joint or on the pivot there. And now, let's see, I'll push it back through. It was dry and dirty and gross, so I greased it up. Now I need to find a way to push it back through. So I gave myself room there to get that pin and that dowel back in. So now everything's good. And we can push this back in. Like I said, use some wheel grease so that pivot, it was just dirty and gross. So now, I just got my spring off of here. That needs to go back on there. All right, yeah, so I greased in there where it sits in here and pivots, so it'll be a little smoother. I gotta get her, maybe I didn't pull it off. Okay, that's fine. It's just hanging there. That's not great. Well, that needs to be on there. Probably do it once it's in place. All right, I'm gonna push this back through here so I can put my pedal back on and we'll be good. Got her all hooked up back here again. I hope I got that in the right spot. And got the cylinder, the master cylinder, bolted down with the two 10mm bolts. Now we just need to attach our line to the top, make sure that is sealed up, and then we'll clean up the banjo bolt and make sure you have your lock washer on top And apparently this was my lock washer on the bottom. So I'm gonna situate that on the way it's supposed to be, and we will be good to go to add fluid. And then we get to bleed. We are now fully hooked up, fully mounted. We'll worry about the exhaust and the foot pedal once this is all done. And everything is clean. And there's the diaphragm. Clean and ready to put new fluid in. Now, we put fluid in here, it runs down into here automatically. And then we'll have to pump the brakes. And then we're gonna end up pushing any fluid. There's still fluid back here and some in the hose. Push any old fluid out. So that's next. This is all hooked up and ready to go. Well, this should be super easy. I put new fresh fluid, .4. It is listed on top, which you can still see there. And everything's right here, so it's easy. The brake's here, everything's good. So we have an 8mm wrench, box wrench on here. I already have my return line. I have, or my exhaust line. I call it exhaust because you're getting the bad stuff out. So there is probably, I might have changed this at one point. I think I probably did. But since we're going through this, we're going to push out some fluid from the caliper. And we're using the piston in here to do the job. So there's going to be air in here. We need to get it out. Fresh, good fluid. We can see it easily. And all we're going to really do now is watch this level. We don't want air to get in. And the reason I have this running up here is because this will keep fluid right here. The air will rise to the top, and then we'll still have fluid when we open and shut this. So anyway, I can't do this without both hands, but you're gonna pump up your piston until, like right now, there's no resistance at all. We're gonna pump this up a few times. Hopefully we'll feel some resistance at some point because that's gonna start pushing this. But what we're gonna do, there's a lot of air in here, which is a problem, but luckily this is higher than down here. Right now, I'm feeling no resistance. But there's probably air in here. We're probably gonna have to crack this to get air out of here, because in this part right here, we're not gonna build resistance up through here. This is the highest point, but we still have air in here. So we're gonna have to pump this up and then hold this down and probably crack that right there. Just crack it and hear the air come out. You'll get a little bit of fluid, but don't worry. Crack it, shut it. You'll probably get a hiss of air out of that right there. And then once that is primed, then it'll create pressure up through here. And that's when we crack it here. And then we can start taking out the fluid. Like I said, I think I did this before, so that fluid should be good. But anything left in here, we didn't touch that. This would have run out when we opened this up. But that right in here, there's a little bit of fluid left in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna pump, 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 hold it down, crack that right there with a 12mm. I gotta get a wrench. You'll probably hear a hiss, and then shut it right away. Do that again, maybe have to do it there again while you're holding this. So it's pump, 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 hold it down, crack that, shut it, and then let this up. If you let this up before you shut that, you're gonna suck air in. So it's just a quick crack. All right, that's what we're gonna do. See if we can get this system back up and running. Pump this up about 6-7 times, crack that, close it. I was hearing air, now I'm getting fluid coming out. So that means it is primed, and look, we lost that out of there. So it's either being pushed up through here. Like I said, there's a ton of air in here. So I was getting air out, now I'm getting fluid, and we're probably pressurized up through here. So I'm gonna start bleeding it here. First crack up here, yep, we got fluid out, so we're doing good. We're gonna push, like I said, anything in here that I think, the fluid's gonna rise. So I'm gonna take out as much as I want. Make sure you watch this. We've dropped from upper to lower, and that means we have pressure the whole way through, and hopefully everything's clean and good to go. I did see a little bit of air come up with this, so we're gonna crack that again, see what we got. The pedal is getting hard, And when I open that up there, it does go down the full way. But right now we have pressure here. But when I open it, obviously you're letting the pressure out. So then it slides down further. We have a good pressure here. I'm going to do this until I'm not seeing air bubbles pop out when I open it. And this is pretty clean fluid. I know my hose is yellow, but it is pretty clean fluid. So I think I did work the system through once before, but we're going to rush this through. And like I said, crack this until I don't see air bubbles coming out. Air's going to get stuck right in here. So if you want to, you could take the caliper off and lift it higher than this part of the tube. Do I feel like doing that? There's a little bit of air still coming through. So I wouldn't crack it then, because you're going to push the pistons out. You can always push them back in, but I don't know. But that's an option. Might help a little if you take it out of these brackets and just kind of pull it down. Might help a little. Get that air somewhere over here. We might actually have to burp it here. I mean, it's working here. Maybe I should burp it here. That'll work. Well, maybe. We'll do both. Got some big air bubbles out, and now there's a little ones coming out. So we're going to keep working on that. Probably going to fill this again. And you can kind of just, I'm going to put this entire thing through there. So we're going to get a good bit of fluid out. And just make sure this is topped up when you're done to the upper. And we've put that much through the system. Lost a little bit, but still collected it down below. Just going to keep doing this until, like I said, the air's out. And then that's good to go. We have a good firm pedal right here. It's about halfway. So there's no leaks. And we should be working way better than before. If we're not, I will take this back off. I will rebuild it, but it seems to be functioning great. And if we were leaking, then we would need to rebuild for sure. But everything seems to be fine on this 1984, probably original equipment. I don't know if it's original, never been rebuilt, but it might be. Usually there's a drum brake on the rear, and we don't have to worry about this. Just have to worry about pads. But being that it's like this, we're good to go. You're going to lose some fluid when you pull this off. Try to just take this down and try to like get as much out of the line as you can. But I like to have it high so the air is rising and not going back in. See, there's fluid there, so it's not going to suck air back in. It'll suck fluid back in if you make a mistake. So there we go. Make sure everything's tight when you're done, and top this up when you're done. I'm gonna refill this. I'm gonna pump all this down, but make sure you don't get air in here. Pump all this through, and thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this causes all our problem. I will keep an eye on this rear caliper, because I want to make sure. What was happening was it wasn't locking up, but it was just kind of dragging and never fully releasing. So I think we cleaned this out and it should be fine. But why am I touching it? It's cold now. It shouldn't be hot when you're riding, but it was just kind of dragging, and I was noticing that, comparing that to the front ones. So I will see you guys on the next one. Get out and ride your Honda, get your old Sabre rear brakes fixed. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.